Hello everybody and welcome to another week of the Frenzy Extra. I'm Andy Lacombe. We're coming to you from Fitton Field here on the campus of the College of the Holy Cross, where the Crusaders take on Monmouth this Saturday in a game you will see live on Charter TV 3. First though, we start, as we always do, with the high school teams, and let's take a look at some of the teams that are undefeated through 4 weeks of play this season. And it starts at the top. St. John's, the #1 team in Central Mass, 4-0 after a huge win over Wachusett. Blackstone Valley Tech also 4-0. Impressive wins over Leicester and Assabet Valley Tech in the last 2 weeks for Jim Archibald's Fighting Beavers. Nipmuc is 4-0. They just scored a Friday night win over Hudson, and they have another big win over Northbridge as well this season. Shrewsbury's 4-0 after blanking Leominster on the road. Neshoba 4-0 after a huge win on the road over Marlborough. Littleton 4-0. Mike Lynn's bunch continues to impress, and Oxford is also 4-0. The Pirates 4-0. What a difference a year or a couple of years makes. Oxford is on the mend. So one of those 4-0 teams, Neshoba, plays Algonquin this week. The T-Hawks scuffling a little bit, but they put up a lot of points and they've got a lot of talent. And so Algonquin really looking for a rebound and a big marquee win over an undefeated Neshoba team this week.
We just got to stay focused. I think we've proved that we can compete with a lot of teams on the offensive side of the ball. I think we've proved that we're an explosive offense and we're tough to stop, but we have to finish on third and sometimes fourth down conversions. So those are some things that we have to improve on offensively. Defensively, I think obviously we need to focus on tackling and stopping the run. So we're going to work hard this week in practice, and Neshoba is going to be a tough test.
Obviously, we got to work hard. It's going to take every practice, every one we got, so it's going to be hard. We're working hard for it, so it should be a good game.
We really need to play hard and just finish the game, especially second half and fourth quarter. We really gotta keep going and bring. We got to use the momentum we get from earlier in the game and finish it out.
I think we played with a lot of heart on Thursday when we played Shepherd Hill. They're a tough team, but coming back with this challenge with Neshoba, I think after putting up 36 points on Shepherd Hill, it kind of gave us some confidence going forward. So the level of play I think is there to compete with these teams, so I look forward to it.
Down in Dudley, Shepherd Hill is 3-1. The Rams have won 3 in a row after a tough opening week loss to Shrewsbury, and there is a monstrous schedule coming up for Shepherd Hill, and it starts this week against Wachusett. The Rams know the next couple of weeks aren't going to be easy, but they need to get it done first against the Mountaineers.
We've been playing hard for 4 straight games, and we've improved. We have a young team. Like I said, we've had 4 different offensive line combinations through 4 games. We plan on starting our 5th one this week against Wachusett, and really it's just the key has been development of our players, working hard in practice, working hard in the weight room, and just trying to get better each and every day.
We're going to try to do our thing. We're going to try to out-tough them. The defensive line's really got to show up. This is probably the best offensive line we've played all year. So yeah, we're just going to try to do our thing.
Similar styles, we just got to tough them out. It's going to be a ground and pound game. We just got to hit them harder than they hit us.
Playing Algonquin last week was more of a clash of styles where we do what we do, Algonquin did what they did, and both teams had success, and we just happened to come out on top. This week with Wachusett, it's like looking yourself in the mirror. They schematically don't do the exact same things that we do on offense or defense, but their philosophy is very much the same. They play and coach very hard. Their kids are tough. They want a physical game. They want a hard-hitting game.
The biggest thing we got to do is work harder at practice, start listening to the coaches more, and instead of thinking of our own thing, just work harder as a team.
Here are key games in week 5. St. John's and Shrewsbury. The battle for Shrewsbury, always a lot of fun. Get there early. Wachusett and Shepherd Hill from Rams country. The Mountaineers looking to rebound against the Rams. Algonquin and Neshoba, just saw it. The T-Hawks can really do some damage if they get a win over Neshoba. Doherty and Leominster, the Highlanders are flying high. Can they get a win at Leominster? And Leicester and Auburn in what should be a physical affair. The Wolverines looking for a bounce-back win to get their season re-energized against the Rockets. All those games on the Friday Night Football Frenzy beginning Friday night, 10:25 here on Charter TV3. When we get back, Jim Wilson and Kevin Shea inside the studio breaking down all the big matchups of Week 5. Stay with us.
Bay State Savings Bank brings you Kasasa. What's Kasasa? It's a catchy word for earning cash that just might make you want to dance. Get paid for doing simple things you do anyway. That's free Kasasa checking.
Ask for Kasasa by name at Bay State Savings Bank, proud sponsor of the Friday Night Football Frenzy.
Coming up this week on the Friday Night Football Frenzy, Bay Path and Assabet square off in a big Colonial League showdown. High-scoring offenses collide as Quabbin visits Littleton. Wachusett goes on the road to battle the tough Shepherd Hill Rams. And it's another chapter in the Battle of Shrewsbury as St. John's visits the Colonial. The Frenzy on Charter TV3. The Frenzy is presented by Bay State Savings Bank, the law offices of Joseph J. Cariglia, Worcester State University, and Unibank. Welcome back, everyone. Kevin Shea with Jim Wilson, the sports editor for the Telegram and Gazette. Lots to talk about this week. First, we got to go back to some huge games, and then we'll look ahead to some big ones. Starting with St. John's and Wachusett. St. John's, Jim and I have been talking about them all year long, that this team is a wagon. They are a program that in central Massachusetts, there's St. John's and there's everyone else. And that we'll see now this week because it's going to be the battle for Shrewsbury. But it was certainly proven last week. I mean, Wachusett's a good football team, a very good football team. St. John's went in and they won big. And they did it even with some of their starters banged up and some of their starters not playing because they're that talented, they're that deep, and they just throw waves of talented kids at you. And, you know, when you have a senior class, and we've talked about it, 26 seniors, 27 seniors, you have guys that are only playing offense or only playing defense. It makes a huge difference, especially in the second half.
They should be playing Eastern Mass.
I know.
Put on D1.
Oh, it'd be great if there was the old.
I want them
if
all.
we had the old school, which again,
right.
We're not going to get started on that.
There we go. Already you're off the rails.
If we were in the old school, they would be playing St. John's Prep. They played them every year. They play Xaverian every year. It would be awesome to see those games. They played Catholic Memorial. They play an Eastern Mass team, and they whipped them early in the season.
You want to see the football Super 8.
Yes.
It started. Just line them up, we'll play them whenever.
Yeah.
Want to do 15 minutes on that?
That's what it would be, the Big 8, the Super 8, or the Big 10 Conference, Eastern Mass, Central Mass style. But this team is so impressive.
That's right. I'm not quite ready to say the No Doubt Tour, 2017 version. But I mean, we talked last week. We tried to say, well, they had, they struggled with Leominster the first half the week before, and they coming up with Wachusett, a team that always has, their number in big games, coming. So what to expect? It was literally like 90 seconds into the game. They said, that's just noise.
Yeah.
And they just, they stamped their seal on Wachusett. That was very cute, trying to give us a whole week of a hard time. But we got the blueprint, and they first 3 plays in their first drive they score. They score again a couple, the next drive. It's 14-0, and it's just going away from real fast. That was a big statement game to say. And like you said, Oliver was banged up. They just went to the air. Puchaga threw for about 320 yards the first half.
In the first half, that was crazy.
Just because he can.
Right.
It was like one of those. They didn't. They proved their point. They said this is what we can do, and then they called off the Dogs the second half, and if anybody from Shrewsbury's watching that game, they have their eyes open. Because, and like I said, Wachusett, they're fine.
No.
I mean, they're a real good team. And I'm hoping they don't take too much, take too many steps back and say we got some work to do, because it's just St. John's being bullies and just showing what
awesome.
they did.
I mean, if you're Wachusett, you burn the tape, you don't even look at it, and
exactly.
you move,
they got a big game
ahead
at Shepherd Hill
and say, right, we're going to
track.
move on to the next one. If you're St. John's, or if your teams that are still on St. John's' schedule, like Shrewsbury, you're looking at that game and saying, what do we do? Because if you try to blitz Pachalia and you try to pressure him, then he'll hit Eamon Dennis on a quick route. He'll hit Pedoni on a quick route. If you kind of rush 3 or 4 and sit back with 8 or 7 or 8 guys and say, okay, we're just going to blanket coverage everything, that doesn't work either, because if Pachalia has time, he will go through his first, second, third, fourth progression on his reads, and he throws such a beautiful ball. Brunel stepped up because of injuries, caught a touchdown pass. But when you look at the balls, especially the deep ball that Pachalia throws, it is incredible, because that's the hardest pass
to connect on is those deep fly patterns or seam routes. He throws such a pretty ball, puts just enough air under it to let his receivers run under it, and drops it right down the chute. It's just so impressive. It really is. And like I said, though, but if you say, okay, well, we're going to blitz them and we're going to pressure them because we don't want to give up the 40-yard, 50-yard touchdown pass, then they have those quick slip screens. They have just a quick slant route, and they hit Dennis or they hit Pedoni, and a 5-6-yard pass turns into a 40-yard touchdown.
And they know early what's going to work and what's not going to work. So they might sort of throw a couple things out there and see what sticks. And they realize, okay, they're picking up big yardage on that, so they're going to keep pounding that and doing that same thing every play. They have different ways to beat you, which is scary. And you don't want to overlook Shrewsbury. I mean, Shrewsbury's coming off another shutout. It's another good team.
Two shutouts in a row.
8 quarters, nobody scored against them. And so they're coming in pretty confident too. They don't think they're underdogs this game.
Right. Oh no, and they shouldn't. Look what they've done. Shepherd Hill. I mean, they've played really good teams. They played Shepherd Hill. They played Grafton. Shepherd Hill, it was 10 points. Grafton, it was 14 points that they scored against them. 7 were late in that game. The Shrewsbury defense is awesome, and I got to see them play against Leominster last week in the second half. Again, shutout of Leominster at Doyle Field. This is still a good Leominster football team, regardless of their record. They have a big line, a real big line on the offensive and defensive side. They have some good skill guys. They have a good quarterback. Shrewsbury had a pick 6. They pressured the quarterback. They stuffed the run. I mean, every facet of the game, Shrewsbury was outstanding. Not to be overlooked, too, Shrewsbury has a phenomenal kicker. Phenomenal kicker. They're pinning them deep. One time they pinned Leominster. After they scored a touchdown, pinned Leominster on their own 1-yard line. Having that kicker changes field position, changes momentum. I'm looking forward to this game a lot just because, Campanelli and Campbell, that connection versus the Bachalia-Dennis connection or whatever. And as you mentioned, Peter Oliver was dinged up. He didn't play last week. I think he played one play against Wachusett. That's a Division I running back, Division I college running back. Now you throw him into the mix too. But what is that Shrewsbury staff going to come up with? Because they have college football coaches on that staff. They coach on the defensive side of the ball. So they're going to try to do things to disrupt St. John's.
They've scored 76 points in 2 games.
Right.
You can't. I mean, not only you talk about the shutouts, they put up 80 points in 2 games, and that's against good teams. Still, Grand Dunstable is no slouch.
No, they're not.
And they said Leominster. I don't care if they're 0-4. They're still Leominster.
Leominster on the road.
Sideline.
Right.
I mean,
exactly right.
They're gonna, to put up that kind of numbers against them. That says something. That shows, while St. John's is just tooling on Wachusett, they're doing their thing. They're showing that they're not going to be. They're deserving number 2. If they win, how many other times has Shrewsbury late in the last 10 years come in and win an unwinnable game against St. John's and come in and taking their lunch?
Yeah.
I mean, they punch them in the mouth early. Next thing you know, a couple kick returns. I mean, St. John's isn't unbeatable. And that's what they got to look at.
We've seen certainly at Shrewsbury too throughout the years. We've seen some fantastic finishes. I've seen it come down to a kick. The final play of the game, a couple years, I've seen it come down to a kick either way for either team to win it. So I wouldn't be surprised if this game comes down to a kick late in the game, and depending on that is which team wins, which team loses. But this is a game that I am really looking forward to.
If they can have an answer to their weapons.
The chess match between the two coaching staffs. The coaching staffs on both sides are phenomenal. So the chess match is there, and then the physical matchups of the players. And again, we talk about the great rivalry that St. John's and Wachusett have, and they certainly do. This is a rivalry that could be even bigger because it's 2 teams in the same town. Right. It's the battle for Shrewsbury. So you have kids that grew up together, played Pop Warner together, played Little League together, live on the same streets. Right. They're neighbors.
The ones that St. John's didn't get from Sutton.
They are not talking this week.
No, there's not any backyard pickup games anymore.
No, it's crazy. So that one I think is going to be a great game. But I said it a couple times, but I'm so impressed with Steve Bachalia and just his poise, the mental aspect. Again, the physical aspect is phenomenal with his great throws, but you're talking about real complicated offense. He has poise back in the pocket, and he just reads defenses really, really well. He was clicking against Wachusett. Whatever they threw, he knew which receiver was going to be open and went to him, which is special.
And that's dangerous when the St. John's staff has somebody they can work with like that, and not just be like, Mongo, go out there and throw the ball real far.
Yeah.
They can say he can see what they're giving him, what they're not giving him.
Right.
Where they can talk. They can adjust. The best thing about they can adjust mid-game.
Yeah.
So it's not like, oh crap, the screen's not working for us. What do we do? No, we'll just adjust it and they'll move out this when they'll swing a tight end over it and block. Next thing you know, that play's going for 30 yards.
Right. And Shrewsbury, they're a physical team. They hit, and they really hit against Leominster. They were sticking guys against Leominster. So this is going to be one of those games that both teams on Saturday morning, when they go to kind of lift their shoulders up and brush their teeth, they're going to feel it. They're going to be sore because this is going to be a hitting game, which I love. And Doherty with a huge win over St. Peter Marion. That's just a huge win for the Doherty program. And they do it late, and they're rotating quarterbacks in there. Both guys being effective.
Dangerous.
Yeah.
When Terry Wallace has those kind of toys, he likes this. He's looking at situations, matchups, who can make what kind of throw, what he wants to do. I mean, that's like we talked about last week with St. Peter Marion. That was a big game for him, a similar rivalry game. They came back and St. Peter Marion gets that big kick. You think, okay, here's where St. Peter Marion sort of kicks the game over. They got the great kick return at the end of the game to start driving for that winning touchdown. That defense just stuck them. They made the stop where they had to. There's a huge emotional lift for them. They're dangerous. They got Leominster this week. Leominster is they're 0-4 for the first time since forever, since 1964.
That's crazy.
When's the last time that happened?
That's crazy.
You don't think? And looking,
you and I weren't even born. That's how long ago it was. I wasn't even born.
And they got Wachusett and Shepherd Hill after this. They need a win bad just to sort of just dust himself off the ground. Right. So Adam Couch is a great running back. Let's see what that Doherty defense does against them, because Doherty did with Vassar and Schoen and all. They have a lot of weapons. Yeah, they do. Every time we talk about a great Doherty team, they have what weapons at every position. Yeah, no, you're right about that. And now Noah Callery too, getting in that quarterback rotation is so impressive. And the Doherty line, and you and I have talked about it, the Doherty line is impressive. Their defensive line, their offensive line, really impressive. And the game is still won up front with the pit crew. And these guys in the pits for Doherty do a good job. They're big, they're physical, they're strong. They also move their feet very well. Connor Bisnett kind of captains that crew, but they're a tough team to beat. And I know that Sean Mulcahy is going to be telling Terry Wallace too, it's great that we have all these great skill players, but let's not forget about Doherty football. Between the tackles, smash mouth football, line you up, the board drill, we're going to knock you backwards and smack you in the mouth. And I think you're going to see a lot of that from Doherty this week. Well, they got Tayshaun Vassar, which is one of the best running backs in Central Mass. And it's not the state. I mean, so I think they have, and the thing with people are forgetting about Doherty, until St. Peter Marion, they sort of had their starters pulled in the last couple of games leading up to that. So they haven't had, you look at his numbers and you're like, okay, well, there's better backs with different numbers. But he's played like 4 quarters in the last into that St. Peter Marion game. Right. So I mean, that he can do damage if he's in there. He's a weapon. He's going to give him problems. I mean, everybody, you can talk about the passing game all you want, but the bread and butter is probably that running attack. And Doherty's an overtime loss on opening night to Wachusett away from being unbeaten. So this is a really talented and good team. Shepherd Hill taking on Wachusett this week. Shepherd Hill coming off a big win over Algonquin on the road. This was a shootout, but the thing that struck me most was a Thursday night game. We were there. Is how hard Shepherd Hill hits. I think they may be the hardest hitting team in Central Mass. They punish kids, whether they're on offense or defense. They hit as hard as anyone in Central Mass. They are such a physical group. And I'm looking at this line, 4 sophomores, and you can't believe they're sophomores. First of all, just the size of them. They're physically big kids to be sophomores on the O-line, but then how physical they are. You think as a sophomore, you're going to be kind of intimidated by seniors on the other side, and you're going to be a little bit timid maybe. Not the case with Shepherd Hill. These kids are out there to knock people down, flatten them, and they have that self-confidence. I think they've done a great job with that. I think Coach Dugan, Ryan Dugan's done a phenomenal job with that team. And Mick Sullivan on offense is a great quarterback because he can throw it, he can run the option, he can do a lot of things. We said before the show, that's when they're most dangerous. When they have a quarterback that can, if you want to put 8 in the box and stop that double wing, be my guest, because when they have a great like Juji Julian a couple of years ago, I think he's Mick Sullivan, just that kind of guy who he's thrown for 123 yards, which is probably close to a school record at Shepherd Hill. You never know until the days of Dugan. Right, that's true. So I mean, but he's just the most dangerous. You want to give him that kind of load up front, he'll find an open receiver and they'll go for a big gain. That's dangerous. I mean, it's shocking that Shepherd Hill has a line with good athletes not named Lindstrom. But I mean, really, let's be honest. They've always been a big ground-based team. So I think that was the question going into how those sophomores come in and step up. Not shocking with that staff there. These guys are ready. No, and the other thing is, you mentioned the Lindstrom brothers. The Lindstrom brothers came back in the summertime. They lifted with these kids. Sean McCune, tight end now at Michigan, came back, lifted with these guys. So you have these Division I guys at these big-time programs that are coming back in the weight room, lifting with these younger kids, showing them the way, picking them up, saying, listen, you can do this. You need to do 4 different sets of leg exercises. You want to play in Division I. You've got to eat 4,000 calories a day. Right. Like they're giving them, so they're seeing guys that, okay, this guy does it. I know it can be done. I'm going to follow his lead. Because coaches, when they can tell you everything, but 16, 17-year-old kids, at some point it's the coach talking. It's the coach talking.
These are kids talking that they either were teammates with or they watched when they were in junior high, and now they're saying it to them. That has a big impact, and that's what this program has, is the alums come back and they show the kids how it's done in the weight room. I think that makes a big, big difference.
Tom Flanagan wrote a column about that last week in the Telegram, with just about how, if you're a kid in Shepherd Hill, you're basically on Saturday morning waking up wondering which former teammate do I want to watch playing Division I football. That's crazy. That's why they're getting all these kids from different schools.
Yeah, it is. It's nuts. Woohoo! Woohoo! And shot to the body.
I love them.
All right, BVT. Again, we're talking Archie's team. Big win over Assabet. I mean, the belt, I think, went to the offensive line. The offensive belt went to the offensive line in this. But this is an Assabet team that's good. And they went in, they won 33-0. On the road, Blackstone Valley Tech winning 33-0. And again, when we're talking about great coaching jobs and great coaching staffs, Jim Archibald, Matty Blood, that staff is doing a phenomenal job because they turned over so many players from last year. They graduated so many starters.
Right, and they, like you said, they've had 2 shutouts in 4 games.
Right.
And in the games they didn't shut them out, they only scored a touchdown.
Right.
And that says how huge. I mean, you want to talk about the running attack, that 3 or 4 prong running attack they have. That defense is up for any kind of challenge you want to give them.
Yeah, incredible. And they beat Leicester a couple weeks ago. They're just real good. All right, we're out of time. Next week, Willie and I will be back and talking about some of the big games coming up and looking back at some of the big games as well. The Frenzy Extra returns right after this.
I'm District Attorney Joe Worley, and I'm proud to partner with Charter Communications with our pledge to help raise awareness that bullying should not be tolerated. From local school students, here is our message.
Delete cyberbullying. Don't write it. Don't forward it. Think twice what you type.
We need to foster safe environments for students in their schools and their communities. Join the anti-bully crusade. Take a stand to lend a hand. Don't be a bully.
Presented by the law offices of Joseph J. Corriglia.
Brenna Wilson joins us now. Brenna, you are at Algonquin this week where the T-Hawks are using, I don't know, is it a toy? Is it a tool? Something new in their practices.
Yeah, they held a demonstration earlier in the week to show how they've been using a remote-controlled tackling dummy in their practices, and it looks like the team's having a blast.
Something new. It's a techie gadget, and they're into that thing. So the first couple days it was out there, they were very excited to go out and kind of tackle something other than their teammates.
The Algonquin Tomahawks have a new target on the field during practices. The Superman.
Hitting the bag that can actually move compared to just a bag that's standing there is wicked cool.
It's fun, and it also helps us work on tackling without the risk of being injured.
By limiting the amount of player-to-player and helmet-to-helmet contact during practice, the Superman looks to make tackling drills safer.
This still allows us to do full contact with the kids, but significantly decreases risk of injury, especially with the head.
Injuries happen in football. I think that's inevitable. If I had it in high school or in college, I think my body wouldn't be as beat up as it is right now.
A parent of an Algonquin student works closely with Mobile Virtual Player, or MVP, and offered to bring a device to the school for a trial run.
It's kind of a coincidence that the company came up to us and asked us if we would like to try it out, and obviously the answer is yes. And I think the kids love it, the coaches love it, so we're having a little fun with it, but we're also being very productive.
NFL teams and some college programs already use the remote control device to simulate the speed and weight of an opposing player. Algonquin is one of the first high schools in the country to test the Superman.
It's a privilege. We enjoy it every day. Our coaches love it.
It's tough to tell who has more fun, the coaches or the players.
Most likely us.
I don't know, I think the coaches might a little bit.
Honestly, I'd say the coaches.
I grew up with the RC car, the little remote control cars, and from there, it's the exact same thing. The remote's the same, it's fast, it flies around, so I think I'm having a little bit more fun than they are.
It'd probably be a tie. I can't give them the kids that one or the coaches. I think it's an all-inclusive program. I think we have as much fun as the kids do, but if the kids do have more fun, then that's a win.
All right, looked like they were having a good time out there, Brenna, but an important tool. What can this thing actually do or simulate in practice?
Well, they can do a lot of things. They were showing how they could do tackling, so the kids can run and tackle it, and that makes it safer. But then they could also have it running routes, so the kids are literally chasing after it. It's really fast, too. So I'm not really sure who's having more fun. I think Mark Allen was having a pretty good time out there.
Yeah, it looked like he was having a good time. Maybe we can get one of those for Kevin in the studio. Instead of Kev, we'll just have a little mechanized dummy running around. All right, that's time for another quick break. Brenna, thank you very much. We'll be back with the Frenzy Extra right after this.
Coming up this week on the Friday Night Football Frenzy, Bay Path and Assabet square off in a big Colonial League showdown. High-scoring offenses collide as Quabbin visits Littleton. Wachusett goes on the road to battle the tough Shepherd Hill Rams. And it's another chapter in the Battle of Shrewsbury as St. John's visits the Colonial. The Frenzy on Charter TV 3. The Frenzy is presented by Bay State Savings Bank, the law offices of Joseph J. Cariglia, Worcester State University, and Unibank.
Welcome back. You know, here at Holy Cross, the Crusaders are trying to get over a really difficult loss to Lafayette last week, and it really doesn't get any easier this week. Monmouth comes to town. They've already won 3 games over Patriot League opponents, and they've done it all by an impressive margin. So Holy Cross trying to put the Lafayette memory away and take on a really tough team in Monmouth that can get it done on offense and on defense.
We definitely have to be a lot more precise in what we're doing. We were very, very close with a lot of things last week, and we weren't. I mean, there were many, many instances where we're a couple inches or a degree or two of an angle away from making some really big plays, and we weren't able to pull them off. We're a couple missed tackles to shutting down them even more. So we just have to get better at those things, you know, better at recognizing, reacting, and just, you know, like I said, getting more precise. So, you know, the old saying, attention to detail, you know, has to be there in everything that we're doing. So we just have to pick it up that way all week.
Holy Cross and Monmouth, see the game live on Charter TV 3 beginning at 1 o'clock here from Fitton Field. Just across town, the WPI Engineers are 3-2, coming off a monster win this past Saturday. Now, WPI, C-Rob's club, has to take their longest road trip of the season down to D.C. to take on Newmac foe. That's right, Newmac foe, Catholic. It's a little bit different trip, little different week for WPI as they try to get some momentum going in their season.
We certainly have done some good things through the first half of the year this year. We have to build a higher level of consistency. I think we've proven that we can play with anybody. We're sitting at 3-2. We've shut out 3 teams. But we've kind of lacked a little bit of consistency so far, especially against those teams that are better. We head down to Catholic this week for a long trip. So this will be, I think, a very good test for us against a like team. And we'd like to be able to build some consistency throughout the second half of the year to carry us into stringing a few wins together. As our kids are used to spending the night in their dorm rooms and on campus. So for us, you know, spending 2 different nights, Thursday and Friday night, one down in New Jersey, one down in Maryland. It will be different. It is a short week for us because of travel. So we have to really, really work hard to maximize practice time and film time with our guys tonight, tomorrow, and Wednesday before we head down. So it is a short week, and you know, we have to be able to prove that we can travel well as well. We've already played 4 games at home, and we really haven't been tested on the road yet. So this will be the first real test for us.
To the Frenzy Alumni Dean's List now, we start with Aaron McLean. He was a game captain for UConn this past week. The former St. Mark's star really put up some numbers. 5 receptions, 122 yards, and a touchdown against SMU. Scott Tupper out of Wachusett. Over at UMass Dartmouth, 2 tackles and a pick against Western Connecticut. Daniel George from Leicester playing at Anna Maria. 8 tackles against Castleton. Ray Sarkadia's season continues. He came out of SPM. He's playing at Assumption now. 6 tackles, 3 sacks against Post. Sarkadia is a menace. Zach Howard out of David Prouty playing at Westfield State. 8 tackles, 2 tackles for a loss and a pick against Bridgewater State. Zach Gorzinski out of Sutton playing at Nichols. 11 tackles, a tackle for a loss, and a half a sack against Dean. Cam Stewart from the U, Uxbridge at Mass Maritime now. 9 tackles to lead his team against Fitchburg State. Chris Belcito out of West Boylston playing for the Owls of Westfield State. 80 yards rushing and a touchdown against Bridgewater. And Sean McGuigan out of Shepherd Hill. All he does is tackle people for nickels. 7 tackles, 2 pass breakups against Dean. We hope to see you on Saturday for Holy Cross in Monmouth, and then Friday night for the Frenzy, and then we'll see you next week right here on The Extra.